saying is when I'm saying we need to have this middle 70% of the country who has an attitude of live and let live, and they just kind of silent and let things roll along. I think we need to wake those folks up and say, hey, you know what? Whatever you believe, you need to start speaking out. You need to start saying what you really believe. I hear all of these folks saying, vote, just get out and vote. I think that's a bad piece of advice.
Really? Why?
Because you don't want to just vote. You want to make an informed vote.
Agreed with you on that, yeah.
Don't just vote. Don't just say, oh, go get out there and go hit the lever.
In his recent appearance on the Young Turks, Dr. Phil didn't hold back as he went head-to-head with Ana Kasparian and Cenk Uygur. While we've discussed his previous debates, this particular clip raises the stakes even further. Dr. Phil takes on the Young Turks on various issues, including America as a merit-based society and some of the woke talking points Ana and Cenk frequently promote. Dr. Phil firmly addressed the dangers of rewarding bad behavior, a problem that has permeated not just pop culture, but politics as well. Ana Kasparian brought up the example of the cash me outside girl, who turned her bad behavior into a multi-million-dollar empire. Dr. Phil responded by emphasizing a fundamental psychological principle. Don't reward bad behavior. The behavior you reward is the behavior that will persist. He even likened it to a rat in a cage. If the rat presses a lever and gets food, it will keep pressing it. But if it gets shocked, it will stop. Dr. Phil's point was clear. America is continually rewarding bad actors, and we're seeing the consequences across society. This heated exchange underscores Dr. Phil's strong stance on these key issues. Let's dive into this fiery debate and break down what happened.
I've been dying to ask you this question because I agree. Ideally, we have a merit-based system, right? But you also have to kind of take a step back and look at our cultural landscape and the kind of behavior that tends to get rewarded that infuriates me. And I think a prime example is actually someone who came on your show, that cash me outside chick, right? That woman, she's a multi-millionaire now. Multi-millionaire, and she was brought on your show by her mother because of her bad behavior. And her bad behavior became a national sensation. And then she went off to make a lot of money off of her whole persona and everything. So what are your thoughts on that? Like, what can we do to change the culture so bad behavior doesn't get rewarded?
Well, you read the book, and I wrote it down. It's one of the most fundamental principles. I put it in the book. Number 3, don't reward bad behavior or support conduct that you don't value. That's one of the most fundamental principles of psychology. You don't reward bad behavior because the behavior you reward, you're going to see again and again and again. You withhold reward or you introduce a negative to that person, they're going to stop doing that. It's true with rats. You put a rat in a cage and they push a lever and get a food pellet. You know what? They're going to push that lever again. They push a lever and get shocked. They're going to, don't push that lever.
But we keep giving the pellets to the bad people. That's my point, right?
That's the whole point. We do.
And it's in every facet of American life. It's not just in pop culture or entertainment. It's also in our political system. I think a lot of bad behavior gets rewarded in our political system as well.
Yeah.
To give Ana Kasparian some credit, she has called out individuals who gained power unfairly. A notable example was when she criticized Cenk Uygur's nephew, Hassan, a few episodes ago, and Cenk completely lost it. It was honestly fascinating to watch. Ana pointed out that Hassan only gained his platform on Twitch and attracted viewership because of his family connection to Cenk. That's the sole reason for his rise, and Ana didn't shy away from saying it, which clearly rattled Cenk. So, in fairness, Ana has addressed this issue before. However, it's often the left that props up individuals like Hassan. The left plays a significant role in undermining a merit-based society in America. If you look at what conservatives and right-wingers advocate for, they prioritize merit. They don't want people getting participation trophies, and they reject concepts like DEI or blanket equity measures. Conservatives want a system where people are rewarded based on the value they bring, not based on their gender, race, or how long they've worked. On the other hand, the left pushes narratives like women should be paid more because they're women, or black people should be paid more because they're black. And this is where the problems begin. This approach chips away at the idea of a true merit-based system. So while Ana Kasparian can criticize all she wants, she's been part of the very system that has contributed to America moving away from meritocracy.
And that's what I'm saying is when I'm saying we need to have this middle 70% of the country who has an attitude of live and let live, and they just kind of silent and let things roll along. I think we need to wake those folks up and say, hey, you know what? Whatever you believe, you need to start speaking out. You need to start saying what you really believe. I hear all of these folks saying, vote, just get out and vote. I think that's a bad piece of advice.
Really? Why?
Because you don't want to just vote. You want to make an informed vote.
Agreed with you on that, yeah.
Don't just vote. Don't just say, oh, go get out there and go hit the lever. And I've been beating the drum that you need to be an informed voter and you need to vote the ticket from the bottom up, not the top down. If you really understand how this works, your life is impacted by local offices as well.
Sure is.
If you're in the park and there's a dog that attacks the lady that lives down the street who's got her child in a stroller, you know what? You need to find out if that dog catcher, I guess they call them animal control now.
They do, yeah.
If that person is allowing dogs to be roaming around and attacking children, find out, was that a one-off or is that person not doing their job? Is he or she not doing their job? And if they're not, then don't vote for them. If you've got judges who aren't enforcing the law fairly, equitably, and doing it in a way you value, then don't vote for that judge. If that DA's not doing their job, if you think they're being too heavy-handed, then don't vote for them. If you think they're not enforcing the law enough, then don't vote. Find out who in your world is behaving a way that you hold near and dear to your heart, and vote and do that from the bottom up. That's where your life is impacted.
I mean,
How about we examine who is always pushing the just go vote mantra? It's the left. Every time you hear a celebrity or athlete say, just go vote, that's their default stance. It's their way of avoiding any real conversation or substance. But we all know what they really mean by that. Go vote left wing. It's a cop-out because they aren't encouraging people to make informed decisions. Instead, they push for blind voting, expecting people to follow their lead without questioning it. Dr. Phil, on the other hand, is making a crucial point. He's saying that people should be informed voters, not just voting mindlessly like drones. And here's the truth. If people were truly informed, they would never vote for the left. That's why the left doesn't want informed voters, because informed voters wouldn't buy into their agenda. Democrats often rely on the same old playbook. Hey, I'm not Donald Trump, so vote for me. That's their entire platform. If voters took the time to dig deeper and understand the issues, they wouldn't choose Democrats. Figures like Ana Kasparian, Cenk Uygur, and Bill Maher don't want an informed electorate either. They thrive on narratives that keep people in the dark, feeding off emotions rather than facts. Woke YouTubers and left-wing celebrities push the same message. It's not about educating voters. It's about creating a base that follows orders. Dr. Phil's message is spot on. But the left doesn't want people to become the informed, thoughtful voters he's encouraging. They want voters who will mindlessly check the box for their side. And when they say, go vote, we all know what that really means.
Honestly, that message didn't really resonate with me until about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Because local politics has changed so much where we live. So you're right about that.
Well, Obama said that really well. Well, I saw him talk about it one time, and he said it better than I did, but he really talked to people about making informed votes and voting from the bottom of the ticket up. I thought he made a good point.
Yeah, I agree.
So, but you said politics you're not that into, you care more about culture, but Dr. Phil, politics is the culture in a lot of ways, and the culture is the politics, right? So I wish we didn't have the culture wars that we have, but we do. And now oftentimes they're used to distract us. So while the politicians then serve their donors, et cetera. But so, for example, you said government is too big, but too big how, right? So for example, is the government too big when it says you can't get an abortion? Because that's the government getting between a woman and her doctor and saying, I'm going to make the most personal decision of your lifetime for you. Big government's going to do that. The people who say that they're for small government support that decision, and that doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't. But I say it this way. I've dealt for 20 plus years on the air and 45 years in my professional career with people that oftentimes make, I think, a huge mistake of inviting the government into their lives. Like I have people come on and they got a marital situation that's falling apart. They have children. They have a custody dispute, and one or both of them say, "Well, we'll just go to court and let them decide." And I go, "Oh no, you don't want to do that. You don't want to invite the government into your private life if you can keep from it. You need to go sit down and try to resolve this. Get a private mediator if you have to." But that judge up there, he or she is not King Solomon. And they're just human beings. And in particular, they're not trained in this particular area. So when I say government's too big, we are to blame. We invite government into our lives too much. You'll have a judge up there, and maybe he or she has a son or daughter that went through a divorce and got burned in a custody situation. Maybe the week before, they've got a chip on their shoulder, and here you are in a similar situation, and they take it out on you. You have no idea what you're getting into in a situation like that. When I say government's too big, I'm talking about that kind of thing. We have so many people in government that are not elected and can't be unelected that are dictating the outcome in our lives because they're bureaucrats that are appointed into positions passing regulations that are affecting our lives, whether it's in the IRS or whether it has to do with state regulations concerning what we're able to do with whether it's how we take out our trash or what we do in our schools. These aren't people that we elected.
The Federal Reserve. We didn't elect
Exactly, the
chair of
Federal Reserve.
Yeah.
These are people that were appointed, and it's real hard to fire them. So we've got people that we didn't choose that are dictating so much of what happens in our lives.
Dr. Phil is absolutely right when he says that we have unelected individuals dictating so much of our lives. These bureaucrats, who were never chosen by the people and can't be easily removed, are making decisions that deeply affect us, from regulations on businesses to policies in our schools. It's frustrating to see how much influence they hold without any real accountability. Whether it's the IRS, the Federal Reserve, or various other agencies, we have people in power who were appointed, not elected, and they're the ones shaping policies that impact our everyday lives. This isn't just about big government. It's about a lack of representation and transparency. Let me know in the comments what you think about Dr. Phil's point. Do you agree that too many unelected officials have too much control over our lives? I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. And don't forget, if you enjoyed this discussion, hit that like button, share your thoughts below, and subscribe for more content like this.